Hey everyone, Pal here, and welcome back. And I realize, World of Warships, this is not Star Citizen, and I know most of you are here for Star Citizen. But this is why there's no Star Citizen video, so, well, just bear with me. Essentially, I normally do the videos over the weekend, at least the Star Citizen video either Saturday or Sunday. This weekend, though, my gaming time was mostly consumed with World of Warships, and that was because on Friday night, I found myself playing quite a bit, and I got to mid-rank 3. By the end of Saturday, I was high rank 3, and only needed 6 more wins in order to win out rank 1 overall. I was 1 win from rank 2 at the end of Saturday. So Sunday came around, and I was like, all right, I'm getting it. I'm going in. I'm going to get rank 1 today, or at least do my damnedest to. I only needed plus 6 wins. I figured maybe 14 battles. It took me 23. It took me 23 battles to get that plus 6 wins. And I actually had a very good win-loss rate for the day. I had, like, out of the 23, I won, like, 17 of them, I think. It was 65-ish% win rate. So I was winning. I would get within, I would be right there. I had 1 win to go to get rank 1, and then I'd lose 2 or 3 in a row. And then I'd get right back up there and be 1 win to go, and then I lose 2. It was like, come on. But finally, I did get that rank 1. So this is just, I want to do a quick video, go back over some of the things I've noticed and learned about the game, my impressions on the competitive season overall, and just what I think going forward. So the video footage you're actually seeing is the second to last battle that I played. The very last battle, there was nothing really good that happened in it. I was a Leningrad, which is a large destroyer. It's a very long destroyer, it has a very long hull to it, but it's a very fast destroyer. Unfortunately, the enemy team had a Belfast and an Atlanta, which are both big destroyer killers, and with them in the game, I didn't get to do a whole lot. I spent most of the game out on the flanks, just spotting for the team, providing line of sight for everyone coming in, dropping smoke screens. We won quite handedly, but I finished with 12,500 damage. It just wasn't a good video to watch. So this is the second to last one. This is a Bliskovic round that does have some pretty good action in it. It was a very close fight that we were actually losing at one point, but we'll let that play out in the background. Okay, so overall thoughts on Season 6, the season of the Belfast, the rank 1 and all that. I think the one big takeaway that I got from at least the competitive aspect of it is when this game is competitive and the teams are well matched, which definitely started coming in more towards the end of the season, it is really good and competitive. I don't know how good it is to watch, but to actually play match after match after match where it's really tightly competitive is fun. The adrenaline kicks in and everything. And this, I keep saying towards the end of the season, or I did say towards the end of the season, because initially for the first 2 to 3 weeks, you had your super Unicum players in the competitive, and they were pulling the balance way out. So you would have one team just steamrolling the other team. And if you were on that steamrolling team, that was great. But you could also get on the losing side of that and just get steamrolled because 2 or 3 super Unicums were on the other team and none of them were on your team. And it was just like, wow. You also had a lot of the really bad players that shouldn't have really been in there were in because it's real easy to get up to just rank 10. That any player could do no matter what your skill level. If you have persistence, you can get to rank 10. So you had this mixture of both, the bad players and the Super Unicum players. But by about week 4, the Super Unicum players had leveled out. They had finished up. They'd got their rank 1 and moved on. And the bad players had mostly stopped playing or were below rank 10 at that point. So the play field really leveled out for the last few weeks. And there were the occasional butt kickings, but I would say maybe 1 in every 8 battles was a butt kicking. 7 out of 8 were all pretty darn competitive, pretty darn close, and normally came down to like 2 ships v 1 ship, 3 ships v 2 ships at the very end. And those are fun. I also came to the conclusion that you don't actually have to be all that skilled to get rank 1. If you have to be better than average skill, but not much. If you're someone that can pull a 55% win rate, if you can be just slightly better than the average player, through persistence, you can go ahead and you can get rank 1. And that's sort of where I'd put myself. Oh, I'm a little bit better than that. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not a top 10%, but I'm probably a top 25% player. I'm probably in that upper echelon, but definitely not one of the best out there. And if you're in that window, it is doable. But like I said, persistence. It took me exactly, and I don't know how this worked out, but it took me exactly 300 games to get rank 1. If you don't know, real quick, we'll run down of how the system works. Basically, every time you win, you gain a star. Every time you lose a star unless you're the top-ranked player on the losing team. That person can saves his star. So every match, 7 people gain stars on the winning team, 6 people on the losing team lose stars. And then there's each rank. The ranks vary depending on how much you need. So rank 22 to 21 requires 1 star. Rank 10 to 5 requires 3 stars. So 10 to 9 is 3 stars. 9 to 7 or 9 to 8 is 3 stars. 8 to 7 is 3 stars. Then 5 to 4 is 5 stars, and all the way up through up to 2 to 1 is 5 stars also. So you need quite a few stars overall to win. But what this causes is like this big seesaw effect. This is why it took me 23 battles to get the last 6 stars on Sunday. Because I'd win 5 and then lose 2 or 3. And now I would be back to where I needed to win. Rather than win 6, I now needed to win 4. And then I'd win 3 of those 4 and then lose 2 or 3. And then I still need to win 3 of them. It was this very back and forth. But if you have, like I said, just slightly better than average skill, and you have the time and persistence to really put into it, rank 1 is very obtainable for, I think, the average person, or slightly better than average player. This was the season of the Belfast, and so the Belfast is a tricky one. A lot of premiums were getting hate through this season, and it was all based around the Belfast. The Belfast has some big glaring weaknesses. It dies very quickly under sustained fire. It's very weak to battleships and all that. It doesn't have the torpedoes or anything like that. It also has mediocre-ish range. The range is, I want to say, 14.8, 14.6, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But it has mediocre-ish range. And while in normal gameplay mode, where it's 12v12 or whatever, the Belfast is a strong ship, but somebody that can die very quickly. In competitive, though, when it's only 7 people on each side, if you get into the right spot, the Belfast is just an absolute nightmare because only maybe 2 or 3 people in the enemy team can even see you to get line of sight on you. If you have an island there, they're not going to be able to hit you. You're able to use your smoke screen, your hydro, your radar, and all that. But it also, something that people don't really talk about is, in order for depending on the number of players on a map, the map scales in size. Now, if you initially just look at the map, it looks the exact same, but what you don't realize is, like, if there's only 7 people on a map, point A might be, with the normal player count, point A might be 2 kilometers across. With 7 players, it might be 1 kilometer across. Now, those are just ballpark numbers, but the whole map gets condensed a little bit. So where in a normal game mode, you'd be at point A with a Belfast, you might just be able to hit the near side of point B with your guns. They would just be in range at that 14.5 kilometer or whatever. Because the game mode was shrunk down, the map was shrunk down, it allowed the Belfast to shoot the other side of the cap. You could be on B cap shooting completely across A cap, hitting the entire enemy team. And I think that's what really compounded things. If the map size had been the normal size that it was, and the battleships could really have used their range to advantage and worked on the Belfast and everything, it would have been a lot easier. The Belfast also does have really good concealment, so if you do spec out the Belfast correctly, maybe this is what they need to work on correcting a little bit to balance it out a little bit more. You could have an 8.7 kilometer detectability range, and your radar's just a touch under 8.5 kilometers. It's 8.49 kilometers. So if you haven't fired your guns in 20 seconds and you get detected, there's almost like a 99% guarantee that if you pop your radar the moment you get detected, as long as that ship has crossed 200 meters closer to you after you got detected, they're going to be within inside your radar range. So you get, I'm detected, radar up, boom, there's the target. I know exactly where it is, where to shoot. It makes the ship really, really rough. So yeah, the Belfast was, the smokes and all of that, it was rough this season because of that guy. Though I don't think the ship is nearly as broken as a lot of people make it out to be. I just think it did, like, the problems with, or the weaknesses of the Belfast were directly countered by the game mode, the player count and all of that, the map shrinking to make the Belfast seem much more powerful than it is. That said, it is still one of the best premium ships. It is borderline OP broken. I have a tough time saying something is OP and broken when it can very easily be deleted in one salvo. Right? If you're such a glass cannon that one good battleship shot, you're dead, it's hard for me to say, yeah, it's just absolutely broken, but people can agree to disagree on that one. I do think this season also showed some of the problem with torpedoes and how everything has changed. Torpedoes are in a very odd state within World of Warships right now. They have gone through and constantly adding hydroacoustic, vigilance, slowing down the torpedoes, how fast they travel, increasing their spot range. They also, back in, boy, this must have been like 2.2, 2.1, they changed how fast ships turn. All ships turn a little bit faster than they used to. They've given a lot of tools in order to avoid torpedoes. And as such, the only way to really be effective with torpedoes is mass blanket coverage. You put as many torpedoes into a condensed area where you think the enemy is going to be, and you wish for the best. There's no real, all right, I'm going to line up on this target, I'm going to get a good lead on them, I'm going to drop these torpedoes here, here, and here, and I'm going to trust that they're going to hit because I'm aiming them well. Well, everyone knows turn left, turn right. They're constantly changing their speed. They're constantly varying their direction to where really hitting effectively with torpedoes is more luck than anything else. And that's fine, but it makes, at least for me personally, the Japanese destroyer line just is not fun. Sometimes you'll go in and things will just go perfectly in your favor. You'll come away with 6-8 torpedo hits, 3 sunk ships, 100,000 damage. But just as many times you go in and every time you drop a torpedo, within 3 seconds after the torpedo drops out, the ship that you're aiming at decides, I'm going to just turn around and go this other way because I'm expecting torpedoes, whatever. And you can only cover so much area with so many torpedoes before that. So unless you just predict, oh, this guy is going to turn, drop torpedoes this way, it doesn't work. It just doesn't make for satisfying gameplay, in my opinion. It really is kind of annoying for it. I almost kind of wish what they would do is buff torpedoes very heavily. What I mean here is make them go much faster, make them much harder to detect, maybe reduce how long they take to reload so you can put more of them in the water, but reduce the amount of damage they do by upwards of maybe 50%. This way, you're more engaged, more interactive, you're doing more offensive when you're playing a torpedo boat. You're putting it out, but you're not going to likely get those one quick boom wipeout strikes. It's going to become less ambush and more a whittling down effect. And that might be a terrible idea. It might be a terrible idea, but it would be something that at least I think that would be interesting for them to test, to try, because it could do for some cool things. Yeah, the whole torpedo thing is a little weird. There's also the whole conversation about carriers. Right now, the fact that like this video does have a carrier in it, I would say out of my 300 rounds that I played, less than 30 of them, so less than 10%, had carriers in them. The amount of carriers was just non-existent on the American side. And that's because the carriers are they're in an odd place. A well-played carrier can absolutely carry a team, especially if they don't have an equally well-played carrier on the other side to counter them, because that's the only thing that truly effectively counters a carrier. There's a lot of cruisers with defensive fire, which can do well at countering one wave of carrier-based aircraft, but as soon as that carrier player sees, oh, okay, there's a Des Moines over here, or Kutuzov over here, something with really good defensive AA fire, well, now the planes are going the other way. And it's just very hard to effectively shut down a carrier with a ship. So the only way to shut them down is with another carrier. And then if you have imbalance, one carrier being much better than the other carrier, whatever, that team just gets decimated by that better carrier. And they're just not really reliable. It's very frustrating to go up against a good carrier. Especially if you're in a battleship, like you feel like there's nothing you can do. You got torpedoes coming in from your right, from your left. You can only turn so sharp. You're not getting any coverage. And it's just not an enjoyable gameplay to go against. However, when they're on your side, it's awesome having the spotting from them and all that. I actually want to do a separate video where I would actually make the argument that carriers shouldn't exist in the game. If you actually think about it, and obviously they did historically exist during this time period, and that is why they're in there, but for a gameplay mechanic, the carrier is the ship that changed naval warfare. They shut down. There's a reason that battleships really don't exist anymore, or they're only used for like artillery platforms, weapons test platforms. They're not used for controlling the seas anymore. And that was all done because of the carrier. So by having the carrier be an actual class, if the carrier's as good as it should be in real life, that carrier is going to change the gameplay to where everyone else is kind of affected or kind of worthless. It's going to be make or break around the carrier if the carrier's done right. So I almost think like carriers should be removed and submarines should be put in place. Because I think a submarine would be more entertaining, more enjoyable to fight against. There would be greater impact on it, and it would better fit the gameplay, whereas the carrier doesn't really do that. it's something to think. Maybe I'll put a video together later on for that. Some other time. We're coming to the end here. We're about to finish up this Fiji's gonna burn out. Like I said, all in all, I think the season was mediocre. The gameplay, just because of the Belfast being tier 6, was It wasn't great, it wasn't bad. There was just too many smokes, not enough ways to counter the smoke. If it was tier 7, where there's a lot more radar, where there's a lot more hydro, a lot more faster ships, it would have been better. Or if it was tier 5, where we wouldn't even have those cruiser with smoke screens, we wouldn't have the Fiji, we wouldn't have the Belfast, we would have, the Emerald below the Fiji, at tier 6, I think. That does have a smoke screen, but that would be just one ship, not two. There was also the Flint with a smoke screen, so that makes 3 cruisers with smoke screen there. I think that would maybe be good. Hopefully next season they either go up or down one tier, I think. Yeah, so that's World of Warships. Overall, like, the season was meh, but I think the game's in a pretty good state. I've been having a good time with it, though after 300 battles in like 5-6 weeks, I'm ready for a little bit of a break, especially from tier 7. Alright guys, we'll be getting back to some more regular Star Citizen content coming up later. Until next time though, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.